We're delighted to have both the Minister and the Deputy Minister with us this morning, but before I introduce our Deputy, let me give you more context for this year's symposium. Nous sommes ravis de compter la ministre et le sous-ministre parmi nous ce matin, mais avant de vous présenter notre sous-ministre, permettez-moi de vous offrir un peu plus de contexte sur le colloque de cette année. Over the past 10 years, the education sector in Ontario has made great progress in research capacity building, mobilizing research knowledge, and contributing to the international body of knowledge about education policies, programs, and practices. A lot of this progress is due to the networks and partnerships that we have created and that have grown and evolved. This is why I'm delighted that we're putting a special focus here in 2016 on the latter through our theme, Networking and Partnerships, the core of achieving excellence in education. This theme was inspired by our renewed vision, Achieving Excellence. Let me read a quote from our renewed vision document. At the core of achieving excellence is a commitment to collaborative, continuous learning among educators, leaders, and government. Combined with broad partnerships with families, communities, and businesses, all working together, we can create a system that is even more accessible, integrated, and responsive. One that will give our children the knowledge and skills they need to succeed, the confidence to embrace challenges of the future. Permettez-moi de lire un passage de notre vision renouvelée. Au cœur d'atteindre l'excellence réside l'engagement des éducatrices et éducateurs, des leaders et du gouvernement. Et lorsqu'à cela s'ajoutent les solides partenariats noués avec les familles, les collectivités et les entreprises, nous sommes capables de créer un système encore plus accessible, intégré et adapté, qui donnera à nos enfants les connaissances et les compétences nécessaires à leur réussite, ainsi que la confiance qui leur permettra de surmonter les défis à venir. We are affirming here and now that we can't improve much more as a system without this focus on networking and partnerships. We're far stronger and much more effective working together than we are toiling away in isolation. So through our keynote speakers, presentations, panel discussions, and workshops, we aim to shine a light on the broad partnerships and collaborations that are leading us into more research and evidence-based decision-making across the province every day. Bring provincial, national, and international research and evidence to the forefront as we implement the ministry's renewed vision, and we aim to facilitate networking and partnerships among university, board, community, and teacher partners in identifying research priorities and opportunities for collaboration. Dans le cadre de notre programme, pendant les 2 prochains jours, nous voulons souligner les vastes partenariats et collaborations qui nous mènent quotidiennement vers une prise de décision fondée sur la recherche et des preuves. On cherche aussi à mettre au premier plan la recherche et les preuves provinciales, nationales et internationales, alors que nous mettons en œuvre la vision renouvelée du ministère. On veut également faciliter les réseaux et les partenariats entre les partenaires universitaires, des conseils scolaires, le personnel enseignant, ainsi que les partenaires communautaires, pour déterminer les priorités en recherche et les possibilités de collaboration. These are important goals, Every aspect of the symposium has been planned to support these objectives. Before I invite the deputy, I would like to bring to your attention the exhibits displayed along Mountbatten Lane. Since we started doing this about 8 years ago, the research exhibition has become a popular component of the symposium. This year, we have 15 displays, and we encourage you to check them out anytime we take a break and during the reception this evening. We've asked all the exhibitors to be in the lane whenever they can. And speaking of exhibits, I also want to mention that Carolyn Ellis is with us today. Carolyn is a visual facilitator and leadership trainer. We've arranged for Carolyn to be part of our event today to provide a visual summary of our discussions. We hope this will foster engagement, clarity, and opportunity for partnership as we see, reflect, and gain more insights through her work. You're welcome to take photographs of Carolyn's work as it evolves. We will have a finished product to share with you either later today or early tomorrow morning. And if you aren't here to see it live, we plan to share it in our post-event communications. Finally, I'll take a moment to thank the OERP members for their support over the years. The Ontario Education Research Panel was established in 2006 to promote research connections and to foster networks and partnerships among school boards, universities, professional associations, and government. And the panel has had success in this regard, developing such things as video case studies of successful research partnerships and statements on knowledge mobilization and intellectual property rights. Could I ask that all the OERP members who have served at any point during our history of the panel, could you please stand up to be recognized this morning? Thank you for your contributions. In 2016, we are refocusing the work of the OERP to include an advisory role to the Knowledge Network for Applied Education Research, and we will announce the appointment of a renewed plan and panel in the coming weeks. Thanks to you all, un grand merci pour votre travail. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Ontario's Deputy Minister of Education. Please welcome Georges Zegarac. Notre sous-ministre, Monsieur Georges Zegarac.
Thanks, Janine. Bonjour, bienvenue. Welcome, everybody. It is a pleasure to be back here. This is my 4th year back as Deputy Minister. And Minister, I have to put some context to this. The system knows I celebrate a lot of our accomplishments, but I challenge us to go further. 3 years is good. You got to be back here a 4th year next year. So, anyhow, we've got lots of work to do. I do want to start by, first of all, telling you this will be short and brief, so we will get to some of the other discussions, which is really why we're here, is to discuss what we've done on the research agenda and how we can actually apply that, because that's the big challenge that I've talked about for the last 4 years. The priorities, as the Minister talked about, it really is now refocusing and going back to our renewed vision, as quite frankly was put together with the consultation across this province of educators, of administrators, of community and students. The student voice that Janine talked about, extremely important. In fact, when I go through, and the Minister was at all of our sessions when we did the consultation on the vision, we had one that we started actually with the student voice. And the student voice, if you look at our renewed vision document, I refer to it maybe inappropriately as the centerfold of our renewed vision, but there's a pictogram. And that pictogram really talks about the vision the students had. What did they need to succeed? And a lot of the topics that we'll talk about today and that you'll have in your breakout sessions are about advancing some of that vision. So that's the challenge that I've collectively put out with our ministry over the last 4 years. The priorities that the minister spoke to are not a lot of new priorities, the same ones that we've actually talked about for 4 years. We've talked about math, we've talked about well-being, we talked about utilizing the knowledge that we already have, for example, in the 21st century learning. So I know Chris Deedy was featured yesterday and had a great session. And again, the students were a great part of, really generating discussion about how to use technology in the classroom. So the minister and I have said a number of times, 4 or 5 years of good innovation is good. We got to start picking some lanes. What's actually working? How do we transfer that knowledge into the system? That's where you come into play. Yesterday we had a great session here right across the hall with chairs and vice chairs of boards. And it was on governance, and some of you in this room were there. And it was, again, refocusing on what's important for a governance body, which is the agenda. How are we going to advance student achievement and well-being? And what's the plan? What's the strategic plan? And keeping the focus on that strategic plan. So as a governance body, they want to do that. It gets harder now. Quite honestly, we've moved our graduation rate from 68 to 84. We've moved our literacy rates. We obviously have to move our numeracy rates up. It gets harder. So that's where you can help. What does evidence show us works? Because they want to succeed. They're not going out of the way not to succeed. They want some direction as to what should we do. And we have directors in this room who are seeking that same advice. So I'm hoping what generates out of this discussion today is a bit of, actually sharing some of the evidence that we have in terms of what research is working, and how do we scale that up? And it's great to have Chris Deedy from the US and Chris Brown from the UK here. And, first of all, it's nice to have outside peers giving you critical friends. And we have two of our premiers and minister advisors here. So Dr. Jean Clinton and Dr. Carol Campbell. They're joined by Michael Fullen and Dr. Andy Hargraves. And it's great to have that kind of critical friend advice. But the issue, I think, challenging for us is when we see some innovation that can work, how do we scale it up? And we can do this. We did this when we did student success. We did lighthouse projects. We actually stopped things that we knew weren't working. So that's one of the things I do want to do is, as we do innovation, it's equally important to know what's not working. And let's stop doing that. But the challenge then is, for those things that are working, is it working and is it scalable? So the evidence we want to see is, first of all, is it working? And how do we transfer that beyond the champion and leadership at that local level to scale it up across the system? So we're going to challenge you today, and I always challenge you when I'm here, to look at next year when you come. One of the questions I want to put on the registration form is, we've talked about the priorities, whether they're math, whether it's well-being, whether, as the minister talked about, we're also looking at collaboration and professionalism. What is it that you did over this past year that helped advance those priorities? So what collectively can we do to not talk about what we could be doing, but what we are doing? And how do we scale that up across? So as Janine said, and I won't get into too much more detail, but in 2010, we did establish the Knowledge Network for Education Research, Applied Research, and we actually, prior to that, established our Education Research Panel. They are going to be focused with us now around these priorities. So let's focus on what is it we're learning and how do we apply it and how do we scale it up. So, small task, but I know you're capable of doing it. We've done it in the past. We in Ontario have had many successes, but now it is a bit about, and I've used this term, in fact, we're changing the way we're doing our business in the ministry. We're actually targeting for impact. So we're not actually going cross-dealing with each board the same way. We're actually having to make sure we've got good evidence and research and data to assess what are the challenges in that board. I shouldn't be treating this board exactly the way I'm treating another board who has different challenges. So we're having to change the way we do our business in the ministry, which means we're also expecting that boards are going to actually address their differentiated needs with differentiated interventions. what we want is to ensure those differentiated interventions are evidence-based. And we have international jurisdictions come to visit us, the minister and I, almost every day, every other day, and they want to know what's working. And I often say two of our critical things that have led to our success is the investment we made in MISA, in data, and working with the systems, so that we actually have something to draw on to actually monitor how we're doing. And the second is the effort, 11 years of doing this, for example, of pulling the great minds that we have in this province and across the world. In fact, we're looking at, even with regards to the panel, putting more international voices on it, putting educator voices on it, and putting student voices on it. So we want a broader perspective. But the fact that we use our data and we help that guide us with good evidence-based practices is key to our success. So I'm going to let you get to that work because we've got lots to do, and I just want to thank you for coming today and wish you the best.